We have returned here at the Rainbow Six North American League. I'm Doa, that is Jesse, that is Jacob. And you know what? It's time for our final map of the day. Time to get things started with DarkZero versus Parabellum. It's going to be a good one too. DarkZero 2-0. Their second win though, very, very close affair against Beast Coast. I believe it did go to OT if I remember correctly. And Parabellum making their way up the standings. They're 1-1, had a mixed first week, but remember this is a new team in NAL. They qualified at the end of last year, got in through relegations, still very much in that like prove yourself phase, right? But I think although you have to give the edge to DZ going into this one, Parabellum's got a shot, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. I think PB have definitely proven themselves that they can topple some of the top teams. They do have one win right now. Now, in fairness, it was over Sonics, who appear to be a freebie at the moment in the league, but
I guess
still impressive that they were able to win that. And I do think that their loss again against Beast Coast at the start of the stage was also very close, and they played really well. You see this team having like pretty decent coordination, given the fact that they've changed out a couple of players. I like a lot of their takes that they've been running on some of these maps so far in the first week. So yeah, I think they got a very realistic shot here.
I'm not really worried about either team in this scenario either. Yeah, DarkZero had a really close affair. Parabellum are only 1 win, 1 loss at this stage, but it's a nice resting ground for both teams to figure out what the rest of the stage is going to look like. And there's different pressure on both teams as well. DarkZero are still trying to see if they can't maintain a top 4 presence in North America, whereas Parabellum knew full well they were losing 2 vital pieces that got them through relegations in the first place, and now they're having a bit of a restructure moment. So both of them have very different levels of stress on them, but right now still it's very minimal no matter which team you are.
Yeah, well, something that's going to tell us a little bit more about how this may or may not go is going to be the maps. And we're about ready to find out what map we're going to go to. Let's check it out. Bank, the first to get banned. Skyscraper in there as well.
Man, interesting that PB would start off with a bank ban. That's one that they've actually played pretty often, 4 times since it came out, and I'd say that they played pretty well on it, but nothing super recent, so perhaps that's why they want it taken out. Sky gone for DarkZero, that new map in the pool that some teams have been adapting to. A lot of teams have been trying to avoid. Clubhouse is Parabellum's permaban, so there it goes. They did not do great in Stage 3 and have permabanned it ever since. There goes Chalet on the side of DarkZero. Chalet, certainly a map that, despite playing it a lot through Stage 3, they did ban it a ton at SI. So again, kind of continuing the trends there. Border also going to go, so we've only got one new map left in the pool. That would be Theme Park Cafe, going from DarkZero, one that they have had a complicated relationship with, but mostly they've been playing it at SI, and it seemed to be good for them. Then we get Oregon out of the pool, which leaves still a couple of maps up. What's still here? Villa's still here, and
Theme Park is still here.
Theme Park is still here. I'd be down for a theme park, although I do love Villa.
We already saw it today though. Oh, it's going to be Villa.
Second time we're going back to Villa for DarkZero, which, all right, yeah, still went really close against Beast Coast, which is a team that you didn't think would be able to push top teams to the wire, especially given their result against Oxygen only a couple of games ago, which also at this point feels like an eternity ago because of that XSET game. But yeah, Villa, not something that Parabellum themselves have played too much of in the past couple of days. They have played it 4 times. They're 3-1 on it since Stage 3, which includes Challenger League and results back from the SI closed qualifiers as well. So it's cool that PB are in a position on a map that they like, and I do think because DarkZero struggled pretty mightily against that Beast Coast roster to close the game out, there could be something for them to look back on for this one.
Yeah, I think if you go back far enough, actually, Villa's a really nice map for Parabellum. Although TSM were able to take them down during the finals of the SIQ, prior to that game, they'd won it 6 times in a row.
Okay.
So,
in a row. Oh, I remember this streak.
In a row, back stages 2 and 3 of
I remember this. Connor, don't look at me like that. I remember this.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
We just called CDAP's Pepperidge Farm.
So sorry.
Right. He'll remember.
Sam thought that was really funny over by the caster desk.
Well, let's talk a little bit about DarkZero going into this one now. DarkZero, again, like clinical, I think is a way we can describe this team if we're continuing with the one word sort of like description of teams that I've apparently decided we're doing today. But they really are it. They are one of the most methodical, clinical teams to watch. Almost to a fault, it seems sometimes. They can get a little bit slow on the entry once in a while, but you can't deny this team is a powerhouse for sure.
No, I think the fact that we've seen NJR and Pamba come into their own finally, we harped on it a little bit from last time, but it's great that DZ is now in this position. It feels as though, in spite of those slow starts, it's something something that they can bounce back from. And they also had two opponents of varying skill sets that they had to play over the last two Playdays. I would still call this probably their most difficult challenge on paper, given expectations for teams that we had coming into this, because it was Mirage and then Beast Coast, if memory serves, and now PB, who everyone knew was going to be a threat. And we're still looking at a case where most players on DZ are doing great. Canadian is also up there in attacking stats. The Flex IGL role really seems like it's where he's meant to shine. It actually makes you wonder what the SSG team from 2020 that won SI, how better they would have been if Troy was in that role, but it feels like here he's fitting in just fine.
Yeah, I certainly think that DarkZero have had a good start to the year so far. I will say a couple of problems showed themselves against BC. On attack, it took them a little while to recognize that they needed to slow down versus the hyper-aggressive roaming style that we saw coming out of Sweater. And on defense, their early kind of trophy extensions when they were holding AVG were kind of bad. They were losing those every single time, but both were fixed as the game went on. The first problem on attack, they fixed by slowing down. The second problem on defense, they fixed by never playing AVG again. So different strategies to fix their problems, but they got fixed nonetheless. And as we've seen through DarkZero, if they've got that time to work through problems throughout a game, if they can get to overtime as a historic thing, they are very, very strong there. So it's been a little while since we've had the DZ OT meme coming through, but I could see it coming back.
God, we don't want to go back to those days if we can help it. DarkZero don't want to either, and I think something that they telegraphed in that Villa game where they beat Beast Coast was the quote, it's not exact, but meatheads don't know how to attack a library. So I don't believe that Penguin as an IGL is going to play into library attacks in the exact same way, but I also trust that DarkZero understands the brains that are on this Parabellum team to not underestimate them. They'll need to get more creative. Panda can't be nearly as slow on attack or on defense as he was on the roam. And Canadian has turned into a defensive light flank artist, very much like taking after a Foxe or a Yeti, kind of in that way. And it's been great to see. That just needs to be full force today if they want to really knock out what this Parabellum team is transforming into.
Yeah, it's kind of a matter of like taking what's been working and just polishing it, just perfecting it.
Just amplify it more.
Yeah, just make it run a little bit quicker.
Plug a different Energizer battery into it and put it up to 110%. Just go full force.
I mean, you don't want to make your battery like explode or something like that. You don't want to overload it, but
I don't know how
you want to push it to the limit. Me neither, actually. My brother-in-law is a chemical engineer who makes battery stuff, but
well, there we go.
Whenever he tells me about it,
I should have clarified
I have no idea what he's
before
talking
I
about.
said that reference.
Like, dude, I just yell about video games all day. That's all I do. There you go. DarkZero with a lot. Exactly. DarkZero with a lot to consider as they go up against this Parabellum team. One thing we want to talk about a little bit too is some of the opening kill stats for DarkZero and for Parabellum as well, because that does kind of play into this matchup specifically, doesn't it?
Yeah, DarkZero actually sitting with a very clean 100% conversion rate, meaning they've won every single round where they've gotten the opening pick in the NAL so far.
Is that attack and defense?
That's attack and defense.
Wow.
It is a low sample size. They've only won 8 opening picks of the 25 rounds they've played, 32%. That's very low, but all of them were converted, so I still think you can look at that as a positive for DarkZero. Their opening picks are perfectly split, 4 on attack, 4 on defense, so you can't really say necessarily that they're struggling in one area rather than in the other. It'll be Eclipse kind of getting more of those defensive opening picks and Pamba getting kind of more of those offensive opening picks. We see the spread right now. Every single player having at least one, and based on the roles that they play on attack or defense, that'll kind of change up. Because DarkZero are a team that, a player like NJR could be a little more aggressive on attack and then kind of fall back to more of that smoke role on defense where he's able to get in fewer opening engagements, and then Eclipse kind of the opposite. But if we can swap this over to Parabellum,
we'll see.
Okay.
You're looking at me like I control this or something, but
I mean,
we'll get that up there in just a moment.
Sure.
Go ahead and start talking about it now, because this does relate.
Yeah, well, because the contrast is that Parabellum also have a very high conversion rate. Talk about DarkZero winning 100% of their opening rounds, or rounds where they get the opening pick. Parabellum 82%, and this is out of 9 rounds, which is again kind of a small sample, but it converts to a higher percentage than what we're seeing from DarkZero, just based on the fact that PB have played fewer rounds overall than DarkZero have, owing to that big overtime game that they had against Beast Coast. On Parabellum, it is like a similar situation as well, where the kills are very much spread out throughout the team. Neither on DZ or on Parabellum are you seeing one person gather all the opening kill, opening death stats. Every single player in this lobby has gotten at least one OK, and as what we've seen, that converts to a lot of round wins for their respective teams.
Yeah, well, let's check out Parabellum a little bit more. There they are on your screen right now, and when you that's not Parabellum. That's
Eclipse.
They trolled us there a little bit, but yeah, that's Eclipse, right? That's DarkZero. But let's talk about Parabellum instead a little bit. Parabellum, a team. There they are. Parabellum, a team that I almost feel like, and again, I'm new here. I want to preface that every time I try to make a statement, in case it's totally wrong.
It's absolute.
They almost seem a little bit like DZ Jr. You know, they've got some similar tendencies a little bit, but they've got a ways to go.
I think Parabellum can in some ways be a very unique team, just based on the ways that they play their roles. It feels like sometimes you've got Penguin running on an entry with Zofia, trying to make the most of his team, trying to get those opening picks, and then the next map he'll be on hard breach, planting the defuse kit. And that is really the way that PB like to roll. Depending on the map, they'll move players into different positions, and it can be wildly drastic on where they like to go. There are exceptions to that rule. Eska will basically always be on soft breach. We've seen WinPB be pretty consistent in that kind of second support flank watch role that he's been pretty good in recently. But certainly when it comes to Kool-Aid, when it comes to Penguin, we see these players on all sorts of different kind of roles, and it works for them, right? Because they develop the style in CL, they know how to make it roll, and even though they've added a couple new players to their roster, this style of play still seems to suit them.
I think the chief difference between the DarkZero and Parabellum teams, like, not to dispute the idea of like DZ Jr., I think the way that works is they're both big brain in very different ways. The way they differ is the idea that Parabellum are so fluid, it means they can kind of move around to whatever they need to. They do like comfort maps, so there are a few that they like go and stick with, that they're not gonna go and like branch out to something like a club. They know they don't like it, so they just won't do it again. However, guys like Kool-Aid are the most aggressive Kaid players to ever exist. The amount of times he's on the entry leaderboard and he's still trying to play a defensive anchor, especially on a map like Chalet, was insane against the Sonics yesterday, and they're very prepared for any kind of rush BS or fearless holds or clever timing from their opponents. They're not the kind of team that's going to crumble under pressure. They're usually very reactive.
I'm glad you brought up Kool-Aid, actually, because he's a player that I think has been kind of inconsistent. Their most recent game against Chalet, he really did run that map. Felt like he was very smart on where he wanted to position his plans. He knew exactly what he had to do to get things done. 3 plants in 4 attacking rounds, 90 cost, 3 and 1 on entry. But then you look at a game against Beast Coast, and it really did feel like he was struggling more there. He was doing more of that kind of entry work than he was kind of support roles on Chalet. But the drones were just not quite there. It was kind of weak. He was really losing those opening engagements. So Kool-Aid is a player that, you know, he's a lot of fun. I think he's maybe one of my favorite players in the league to chat with. But when it comes to the game, I want to see a little bit more consistency. He has great moments, but they're not every game.
Kool-Aid as well. Looks like he could be on the cover of a steamy romance novel as well. He's got the hair for it, for sure.
That picture of him from the 6th Invitational should have been put on a magazine cover. I don't know why it wasn't. But yeah, no, I think we're looking at a Parabellum roster that still has the potential to upset really anybody. I think there were a couple squads that when they came in, it was like first time in the league or it was a squad reforming. Parabellum was at the top of my list for being able to knock off a top team from last year. And that's the kind of thing that has already manifested against the Sonics. My only question is, because the Sonics are in such a dumpster right now, does that attach a caveat or an asterisk to what Parabellum was able to do? And honestly, I felt like they ran Chalet so thoroughly that that's not really in dispute. That was a fantastic game regardless of what opponent they were playing or what the expectations were. So now we're heading to another map that they're comfortable with, a map that they still have a higher win rate than DarkZero do over the past 3 months, and they've been to considerably less international competition than DarkZero have. So this is probably more even on paper than most people realize, I think.
Yeah, it's certainly not going to be easy for Parabellum, but it's possible. I think this is another one of the ones that are a little bit maybe harder to call than people think it is. But in that vein, let's see if it really is hard to call, as we send it over to our casters and ask what their predictions are going to be for this match. DarkZero or Parabellum? Stokes, Blue, what opinions do you have?
I think you guys said it pretty well with Jacob's most recent statement there, that this one's very, very close, basically. But for me, I feel like that Parabellum still has a little bit more work to do, especially if this game goes like the full distance into overtime again. I feel like that's where DarkZero's experience and time they've had at Tier 1, as well as the fact that obviously they have Canadian leading the roster, that's going to outshine by just that little bit. So I feel like DarkZero is going to take this one.
All right, fair enough. How about you, Stokes?
You know, I already got one upset right today. I didn't get the other ones right, but I got one upset right today. And given the fact that it's Villa, I really do feel like anything can happen here. Parabellum, they're going to be going to more of like just a different map straight up. They played Chalet and they played Border, both very offensive-sided maps. Villa, defensive-sided, but still, I'm going to pick Parabellum.
Wow, okay. a casting desk divided. Let's see what the analysts think. Same opinions, differing opinions. We'll go with you first, Jacob.
I remember my good friend Connor Cdaps D'Apollonio once stood in this very studio, pulled off the shirt that was underneath his blazer to expose a Parabellum jersey, and did what he could to manifest a Parabellum victory in their relegation matchup. And I do believe that because of the way DarkZero played that Villa matchup, those same mistakes and inconsistencies could very well rear their ugly head in this matchup. So, in spite of it not necessarily being the safe pick, I'm giving it to the PB boys on this one. Let's see if they can manifest a victory here too.
Wow, okay.
Very bold, very respectable, Jacob. But some of us are sitting at 43%, and we got to pick the safe bets. DarkZero all the way. Thank you very much.
I mean, is it safe? I don't think any pick is safe, honestly, in this league right now. With what we've seen last week, what we've already seen today, like, is any pick safe? We'll find out. The only safe pick is random chance.
Oh, no.
That's
not
all I
a
gotta
safe
say.
pick.
So it is. Well, it's not safe or dangerous. It's just true neutral, right? DarkZero will be heads, and we've got Parabellum as tails here. Let's go ahead and flip it.
Sam and I are both crossing our fingers.
Oh, I almost dropped it. It is, oh boy, it is tails. It's tails. The coin once again predicts Parabellum. It did last week too at one point, and they did win.
I think it did, yeah.
It did when they had their first little upset. So there you go. The coin says tails, but we'll see. Again, it's only an inanimate object. But you've got something to consider at home, a poll, if you will, to think about as we go into this next series. It's going to be who would win, a Canadian team or Canadian?
Good observation.
That's the question, yeah, that's true.
Good one, socials.
We'll find out. I guess as you mull that over, we will get things ready to get this match started. The final map of the day, DarkZero going to be taking on Parabellum. We'll see who takes it after this short break.
Here they knew it was us. Apologies if I was doing too much, but I always came through in the clutch. I got faith restored. Why you pushing the brakes? I ain't full of myself, boy. I'm full of mistakes. I came from humble and roots. I'm here to stand and deliver. Had no one gassing me up except the man in the mirror. I used to work on my handles and now his handles are liquor. I write these songs in a dark room. The candle will flicker. I stay practicing heavy for when the game's on the line. It's like over and over. I run the plays in my mind. I'm a psycho. I'm taking my time. Rushing perfection is a dangerous crime. You gotta give it and take it. That's what you do till you make it. I had to roll with the punches and take the hits from the flagrants. I'm saying the bar raising, we keep moving it up. And no surprises here, they knew it was us. Apologies if I was doing too much, but I always came through in the clutch. An off game don't mean I'm losing my touch. And no excuses, I ain't using a crutch. Apologies if I was doing too much, but I always came through in the clutch. I was falling, had me stalling. I was way down, now I'm balling. I done came up and I called it. I done came in the clutch with the game on the line. I know I operate from a higher place. Wait, some decisions don't try a race. I'm doing what I can to fuel the flame like a fireplace. To make a bunch of money, buy my mama a fireplace. We make incredible songs to celebrate and get mad lit. Once upon a time in Hollywood, I'm like Brad Pitt. My homies say I live a life, yeah, just a tad bit. Learning how to move in this rap shit. I told them that the bar raising, we keep moving it up. And no surprises here, they knew it was us. Apologies if I was doing too much, but I always came through in the
And welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the NAL. Getting ready to jump into our final matchup of the day, and we've got a good one for you here. Parabellum looking to make their mark here inside of North America, going up against one of the titans of the region in DarkZero. Should be getting started in just a few minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just working on getting our players into the server now. Stokes, let's get your opening thoughts on this matchup, though, as it's bound to be a close one, given both the map choice and the way these two teams have been performing over the past week.
Absolutely, especially when you put the two up against each other, because their play styles are so distinct. You know, everybody knows the DarkZero playstyle, but especially with Canadian, and you know it's going to be more, strat-centric. They may have some, aces in the sleeve just because Canadian always does, but for Parabellum, John, they've been so interesting to watch this entire stage so far. Even with the 2 changes that they had prior to the stage, they still look like they're very focused on this rapid change in pacing and, you know, really trying to get into the face of their opponent. It works out really, really well for them. I like that, especially with the team and, you know, how long they've been together. They're really stuck to their guns and made this work. It's looking great. And honestly, that's why I picked them today, too. I just think that there's an opportunity here for them to take this away from DarkZero when they're not exactly expecting it.
Yep, absolutely the case. And for DarkZero, things have been looking up as well. A little bit of a tumultuous run, mainly at international events, trying to get Canadian locked in with this new roster that he joined up for about 6 months or so ago now at this point. And away from that, so far, the first 2 matches have been good, giving them good results, but also have been fairly close, with Beast Coast nearly managing to sneak a win off of them also. So we're going to have to wait and see if that will be the case again today, if Parabellum will take this matchup to its full distance, or if DarkZero, going to a much more strat-heavy map this time when compared to the past, is going to be able to outwit and outskill their opponents in Parabellum, who are still learning the ropes when it comes to this top-tier play. I say that, but Parabellum has been around here for quite some time. If we go back to the relegations and whatnot, and as well as their position inside of the SI qualifier, we've seen Parabellum quite a few times now. So
don't forget about SI 2021 either.
Oh yeah, sure. I forgot about that one. Yeah, almost missed that one. Obviously a different roster back then at that point, with a few players differing, but they have stuck together since then for the most part and have been continuing to run their way up through the gauntlet in CL, making it all the way here this year into the NAL, where they're looking once again to make a good statement. As you guys can see, like I said, working on getting a few players ready to go here, sorting out, I believe, a small technical issue, but other than that, we should be ready to get into our game in the next few moments.
So Villa going to be the match, as you guys, or rather the map, as you guys already know. And for DarkZero, we already saw this one time here for stage 1 of the NAL. It was up against Beast Coast and went to overtime. It was an 8-7 victory for DarkZero. Now, the big thing to talk about here is just how strong NJR and Canadian looked inside of that matchup. If you guys remember, they both ended up going 14-9, and they actually tied in rating at 1.21. So some pretty crazy stuff for both of them inside of that series there, but especially for Canadian playing, you know, more of that flex role inside of the IGL position that's asking a lot of him. You not only have to focus on the, you know, the task at hand, the gunfight that you're about to have, but also what's going on throughout the entirety of the round as well. You have to coordinate all that, make sure everybody's on the same page. There's so much to be done in a position like that, but he's able to, I mean, not only take up the mantle, but make it look so easy.
Absolutely, and over on the Parabellum side of things, a big player that we're going to be focusing on inside of this match, once again, takes us over towards Creators, who we have had a story building up for him over the past year or so now, and this is another chance for him to really prove his worth inside of the NAL. We saw him have a brief stint on XSET at the beginning of last year, but we had an interview actually with the coach of Parabellum before the season started, where he said, once again, that wasn't really being set up too well for success on that team. He thinks he's done a much better job of it, and so far, I would generally tend to agree given the results we got out of him, specifically in the Beast Coast game, where he absolutely fragged the heck out of it inside of that matchup, and is certainly going to be looking to do the same thing here today. But the question is he going to be able to pull off that same caliber of skill against the roster as experienced as DarkZero? Are they going to be watching flanks more often? Are they going to have counters set up for his types of plays? That'll be what we'll be watching once we get ourselves into this game.
I guess the real question is, does the rise or fall lie with Creators when it comes to Parabellum? Because I had a discussion with Penguin as well. I referenced it last week before we ended up getting into the actual stage, and it was just discussing the team, seeing what was going on, you know, during the offseason, lots of moves going on, and I got the same bit of information. The entire team has been set up for Creators' success, and I really think that that could bode well for them, but like we were talking about prior, does that, you know, reach a point where it's gone too far and Creators could be in a position that's more or less set up to fail?
Yep, and we have seen this in the past as well, where teams kind of, you know, over-plan around a single or maybe 2 players, and that player has like a couple bad days every once in a while, and then suddenly the team just falls flat on its face because that one-star player you're pinning a lot of your strategies on is not performing up to par. So it's a little bit of a dangerous element putting so much weight onto one player, not just in the kind of out-of-game pressure department. That player absolutely knows that they're going to have to constantly perform up to that same level in every single game, but on the rest of the team too, for the reasons I was just stating, where if he falls off, okay, who's the backup? Who's going to step up then at that point? That's the big question for a roster like that.
I mean, even then, that could present even more issues, because if you start having an issue now, remember, they still have Blaz coming in later on. So then you might be discussing, okay, are we actually getting rid of Wimpy? What's happening here? We really don't know what's exactly going on. But, I mean, that's a little bit down the road, but as a coach especially, you have to be considering these things.
Meanwhile, for DarkZero, they're looking to set up I'm trying to remember the exact code. I think it was a dynasty or something like that, or like.
We'll go with dynasty.
I'm trying to remember. There was some. Yeah, we got one quote from someone on DarkZero that said they wanted to set up like a dynasty or a legacy roster or something like that. So they're looking to build strongly off of what they had coming in from last year, not looking to change up too much. And so far, that strategy is working out quite well at the time in the offseason, has seemingly been well spent. And DarkZero is looking once again to push themselves into a top-tier position here at the end of the stage, which would obviously qualify them for the major. And once again, that's going to be the big next step for DarkZero. That's their big focus point, is making those international results finally stick, as they've been struggling to attain them ever since they made the switch in leadership over to Canadian a few months back.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, for DarkZero, things have been going pretty swimmingly, I would say. You know, the Villa game that we ended up watching previously up against Beast Coast, I think that was more of a solid showing for Beast Coast than it was DarkZero doing, you know, a lot of things incorrectly, I would say. I would say especially Beast Coast's playstyle works up well against DarkZero, and that's why I think Parabellum could play up against them pretty strongly here today. But it's really up to DarkZero and what they could possibly be bringing to the table. You know, just because they showed more of a strategical setup last week doesn't mean we can't see them, you know, try and rest on the laurels of the firepower a little bit more this week. You just really can't call it as of right now. But we're moments away here, folks, from getting into, well, not so sunny anymore, more of a sunset over the skies of Villa.
We're getting there. It's getting, you know, we're getting closer to the summertime, so we're getting a little bit more sunshine in there. But either way, it's looking like we've got all 10 players sat down. I can confirm personally that we have all 10 players in the server also. So just waiting on all those players to get themselves readied up, and then we will be good to go. Once again, we do apologize for this little bit of delay getting the match started here. Thankfully, our matches have been pretty quick today, so we're not too far behind. And aside from that, like I said, I think we were waiting on a monitor, I believe. Yeah, monitor was waiting to be swapped out. But other than that, we are good to go in just a few seconds here, folks.
Well, a little bit past that, I guess we'll just talk around the horn of what's been going on inside of the league so far. So just to update you guys on some interesting stats that we've had up until this point. The biggest stat for me right now is Mirage, with Marmalade having the most plants in the league. She's got 6 plants at the moment, and that's past their dub today. Very excited for that team. I'm excited to see what they can do not only tomorrow, but with the rest of the stage.
Absolutely the case. They pulled off a pretty big upset today, I believe, against TSM. So some fantastic stuff coming out from them, and hopefully again another maybe stage 1 surprise from Mirage Ross. That happened last year as well, for those who didn't catch on to that. Mirage had a very good run themselves inside of stage 1 of 2021. That was mainly due to the fact that they had Hot and Cold leading them, and there was a lot of...
A little bit of an asterisk.
Yeah, we did see them fall off after his departure, unfortunately. But still, you know, it was a great start to the year for a roster like that, and hopefully they can repeat that success here in stage 1 of 2022. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're going live back to this matchup. Once again, if you're just joining us, it's between DarkZero and Parabellum to decide the lion's share of the points between these two teams today. And of course, now going to Villa Fort. Let's find out who will manage to take the victory, as we're getting into our ban phase now. Parabellum is starting out on the defensive side, and DarkZero will be jumping onto the attack. That means Parabellum gets our first and last ban, and DarkZero gets the 2 middle ones.
Now, this is where things could get interesting. Not really for the ban phase. I expect this to go pretty swimmingly, especially with the Thatcher ban to lead us off. We'll see what DarkZero want to take away. Might be something interesting on this end. But past that, Parabellum starting defense, this is going to be so good for them. This is a time for them to rat out, really try and get these cogs going inside of DarkZero's head. Try and throw something at Canadian and force him to make these adjustments. You know, he's some of the best in the biz when it comes down to that. But still, you have to test these things. You don't want to make it simplistic for the DZ squad as they clear out Villa. But as we get to the first defensive ban here, DarkZero removing the last of their set, and it's going to be Mira. All of these bans making so very much sense when it comes to Villa thus far.
Yeah, very few surprises when we look at the ban phase here, and Stokes even mentioned that this should go pretty much according to plan here. We're not expecting anything crazy to come out, and that's going to follow itself all the way through to the end with Cade being removed last here for Parabellum. That ability to double reinforce the walls is a little bit too strong in this situation, especially with Thatcher being banned out, so not going to be wanting to deal with that. We'll eat him right out of play. And now we'll get ourselves into the first round here, where we're going to go to a usual expected first sight over inside of AVG. What's up?
What if this gets locked in? We'll talk about it. But as of right, it's getting locked in.
This is a very
Oh, did you notice? Did you notice what's going on now? Did you notice the Clash Doc Rook? This is what I was talking about when I said Parabellum might have some things on Villa that could be what's the best term, John? Unethical? I think that's the nicest way to put this. So it could work. We seldom see this. It's hilarious as well, because I was actually talking to Doa earlier. I was like, yeah, something that you might not ever see is just like a Rook. You're never really going to see Rook that often, and well, we're going to have him here today.
A little bit of a health boost coming in there now due to the armor being deployed to all of the members of Parabellum's squad. Aside from that, the capability for either Kool-Aid to self-boost himself if he's going to go for some crazy early peaks here, or of course assist a teammate also can be quite useful for Parabellum. So let's see how this very interesting operator lineup ends up working out for the team, especially with Clash in play to kind of permanently block out one or two angles also. Should be very interesting to see how it goes. As far as our attackers are concerned, though, what they showed us inside of their reveal phase stays relatively the same. We did get one repick onto Hyper, but it's mainly just going to be a stylistic change, adding a little bit of support to this team as it went from a Yana over towards the Fink up, so the nades will be kept in check.
So far, the changeup I've loved the most is Penguin's name, Penguinski. How do you say that? Penguinski? Is that how you would say it? It sounds like a mad scientist, and that's perfect, because that's what the strategy looks like. Looks like it was constructed in a lab, just somewhere in the middle of a desert. I don't really know how he's been able to come up with this one, but with 40 seconds off the clock, it's at least holding back DarkZero for a time. They'll be able to get some drones and things along those lines. And speaking of Penguin, he's going to be the one manning the Clash, who will currently be around Red Stairs and trying to hold back DarkZero. But speaking of DarkZero, they're trying to push forward. Wimpy gets one, two. Pambazoo now fights back. He'll take down Aska. Wimpy looking for more. He gets another one. Pambazoo as well. It's a triple kill from the main stairs.
Beautiful stuff from Wimpy, punishing the haphazard aggression coming in from DarkZero, trying to brute force their way through the study clear, as well as the main stairs play, and possibly just losing this round outright as a result of that. Now, it's still winnable at a 2v3, but the big problem is going to be the fact you've got NJR and Eclipse as the only two remaining. A little bit of hard breach available still for Eclipse also, but trying to properly utilize it is going to be tough. And the fact that the Clash is still alive makes things even worse. If DarkZero chooses the wrong path forward here and runs right into that Clash at the start of the fight, that's it. The strategy's been revealed, and they're not going to have a great chance to catch either Kool-Aid or Wimpy off guard from the moment that Penguin spots either one of these two players.
Yeah, you called it earlier. This round, as of right now, for all intents and purposes, this is over. There's nothing that DarkZero should be able to do here to win this out, mostly because, well, the main stairs is still held. Wimpy is able to win all of that out, and that also means that he can occupy studies still, so if they go for a vault plan or anything of the sort, they're screwed. They have to essentially fight the people on site. There's no opportunity here for them to get a plant down where you're going to be able to hold the cross in really any sensible way. So now, Eclipse, he's going to get tagged up from the drone hole, as you said. He'll be able to at least get the Selma down, but now the presence known inside of 90 as Parabellum will reposition.
Eclipse flinching there for a moment, not even realizing where the shots are coming from, but quickly correcting himself, and there we go. There's the reveal. Eclipse spotting out the Clash, but not really able to do much about it. Penguins just gives out the intel that, yep, they're going to be holding inside of this angle, and all they have to do now is isolate out the position of NJR. They will be in good straits to shut this one down and pick up a first round here. Kool-Aid immediately contesting against the opening here. He does take a little bit of damage from the Selma, and Eclipse will get the kill. NJR has been down, however, so now it's going to be just Eclipse, but Eclipse, he can get it done. Wimpy clutches it out once again, though, with that final shot, putting in a huge effort this time for Parabellum and putting them on the board first.
Like a lightning rod down my spine right
Told you
there,
it was
John.
winnable.
No, it was, okay, listen.
Winnable.
Thank you for the quotations
air quotes.
there, the air quotes that you guys couldn't see. Winnable because Penguin put the shield back on. What are you doing, okay? Stop stressing me out on the desk, man. I swear to God, these people. But either way, Parabellum, they're going to get the round. Thank God for this young man named Wimpy. I don't know if you know much about him, but he got a quad kill inside of that.
Yeah, some really great stuff coming out from Wimpy. The big focus of it is the 3K on the stairs, but the final 1v1, making sure things go well for his squad. If they actually win the round is certainly an appreciated addition as well, especially with him getting the triple kill, man. He probably would have been a little mad if, you know, he goes through that effort of, like, stopping that rush play and then, like, his teammate just flub it.
Yeah, especially if Penguins is like, yeah, I put Clash's shield away. What? Why did you do that, Penguin? I don't know. I just want to take the gunfight. Like, why? Just hold the guy back and gun vault, man. But, you know, it is what it is. They still got the round, and, you know, that's just little things that could have possibly have went DarkZero's way, but ended up not. So, either way, DarkZero, they're going to be back onto the board here. 2 swap-ins for DZ as well, so bring in Dokkaby and Ace for Pambazoo. We'll see if the Doke works out this time, as also they've got Canadian in tow, so a lot of info gathering here to see if Parabellum are moving around Villa.
Don't expect the round to devolve so quickly. That was a bit of a mistake from DarkZero there in trying to rush Wimpy's position and unfortunately underestimating his capability to hold it as strongly as he did. So Parabellum get away with a little bit of a lucky one as a result of that misplay, but still the follow-through is all they're doing. Same with the 3K from Wimpy. Aside from that, it's going to be much slower played at the beginning of this round. Wimpy will continue to hold an extended position. This time, of course, inside of the previous round site, though. He'll be inside of the gun vault there with that one reinforced wall, trying to fend off actually a very similar push as he's once again focused entirely on study pressure and making sure that it does not work its way through. Creators, however, is here for the assistance this time, so it's not just going to be a lone job for Wimpy.
Little scared for Parabellum at the moment, but the same could be said for DarkZero with their drone economy. It's really starting to get eaten up here. Hyper already losing all of his drones, same for Canadian, and one down on Pambazoo as well as Eclipse. Eska with a beautiful shot as well, and this is where things could become problematic. Not only have they lost NJR, but they've also started to commit utility to the situation as well. First call out from Eclipse, second one awaiting its arrival, but Parabellum, they've already gotten their pick, and they've been able to drone out most of this, or rather gather some info on what DZ is doing, all except for that frag grenade that Hyper's able to pour in and find a kill. Pambazoo, he's going to miss some critical shots as Wimpy gets one and looks for the second on Study Balcony.
Wimpy on point right now, but he's got to be careful. He's potentially going to get pinched out here if he's not watching his flank. Good news is, has good control of that for the time being here. As he continues to rotate further and further back. Time is starting to get a little bit lower, and with that trade being found, things looking a little bit more palatable for
John.
Parabellum overall.
Well, a quick look over. Not a single drone exists for DarkZero anymore. There's, I believe, a flank drone. That's what NJR and Pambazoo are on their deathbeds currently. But past that, DarkZero have no capability to gather any information now. Canadian used his last scan. Eclipse has used his last phone call. This is a Parabellum round as long as things don't go horribly wrong.
Parabellum just needs to keep their nerves in a good place here, make sure they don't end up overswinging or overcommitting too much to any execution attempt from DarkZero. Canadian, you can see even kind of lurking around underneath the site to maybe see if there's still any roamers out and about that he could maybe surprise, but not going to find that. Wimpy sneaks off another very well-placed shot against Eclipse, but is not going to make or break the round just yet. Flash dumps are in towards Statuary, but there's a player, Kool-Aid, holding right around the corner. Mind you, again, there's no drone, so he's going to go insane here. Down the second, looking for the third, and he's going to get it. Assistance comes in there for the final kill, but beautiful work inside of the site and beautiful management of the round overall from Parabellum to bleed DarkZero down to a 0 drone counts. That could be accomplished in those final few seconds.
Just bled them dry on this roam game. For DarkZero, I mean, they lost so many drones inside of even the opening minute where they really didn't have any pressure on any part of the map. They were simply droning out a lot of this initial space and recommitting info game and constantly losing it. And that's where we see Parabellum capitalize on this situation, mostly because of the kills that come through from that end. If you don't capitalize on the info that you gain early, that info didn't mean anything to the overarching story of the round. So for DarkZero, all of that info gathering and utility usage is a moot point. It doesn't do anything for them. If anything, it's much better for Parabellum in that sense, as you practically gift them all of your drones. And the sad thing for DarkZero past that, folks, is the fact that they brought 2 info ops on top of that, and they still couldn't clear the map. That should not be happening.
Things looking a bit bleak for DarkZero as of the first 2 rounds of play, but indeed it is only the first 2, so plenty of opportunities for DarkZero to rebound, especially once we get over towards round 4, and more than likely Parabellum start to rerun the previously won sites. As far as their new one is concerned, though, they are finally thrust into the first floor, where they're going to go for the expected of the 2 remaining choices, as they'll go into a kitchen hold to try and get the perfect 3-0 run before they start unlocking the upstairs sites. Attackers are going to bring a very similar lineup, but we do see one more change from what we have previously seen on this team, and notably that Canadian is going to go for the IQ to try and detect some of these gadgets a little bit more early in the round.
And we toss some operators around as well. Pambazoo no longer on the ace. Instead, that's going to be Eclipse's job, and Pambazoo will pick up the mantle of Finka. So we'll see if that LMG works out in the future. Wimpy is going to come under fire early here, but send some shots back to the study door, and he'll be able to make it to bust unscathed.
Nearly gets a timing shot off, too. Thankfully, the restraint for the member of DarkZero over in Study is strong. They're able to hold themselves back from that potential peak that could have led to an early death. Another kill in Wimpy's counter. Not to be seen, however, inside of this first minute. All 10 players remaining at full HP as the members of DarkZero continue to clear out mainly that first floor area. You can see the drones kind of buzzing around towards Study side as well, so they'll begin clearing that over the next few seconds. Attempt to line up a nade, and it's nearly on point.
Oh, no.
But instead, Eska is going to be able to swing out, I believe it's from that very same position, and catch Canadian as he goes down.
And that's so unfortunate for DarkZero. The entire strategy here with the IQ is get Canadian above the site and take out all of this utility. It's going to be so easy for him to pick up not only the black-eye cameras of Valkyrie, but get rid of these mute jammers and a lot of other things as well if they are end up getting tossed out. But now for DarkZero, at least they'll be able to pick back up Wimpy, but halfway through this round, they're going to have to focus on NJR breaking up a lot of this flooring to assert dominance over the site.
Yeah, as you said, a lot more Top-down control still needs to be opened up here for DZ, and they don't necessarily have a
the info
whole
coming
lot
out
of time
too.
to do it. Yep, as you said, Parabellum, they're going to have these Valkyrie cameras bleeding in. There has to be one somewhere up towards Statue with the way those yellow pings are coming in right now.
So
Nitro's
smart,
out.
Hyper.
It's
Do you
not
see
gonna
that big
catch him,
brain?
though.
That was fantastic. Apologies, John. But the Gemini there, it still makes noise above you. It makes noise when you step and stuff like that. So what they did was they baited out the Nitro Cell with the Gemini clone. Really, really big brain there from Hyper, just knowing that they're going to try and play Nitros from underneath.
So another one goes out. This one is not going to find its mark either here. So 0 for 2 on those Nitros, and I believe our defense is now out. Indeed, they are. Both have been used, so a bit of a sigh of relief in the DarkZero camp, as they have this remaining time bank to just open things up. They don't have to worry about anything potentially poking back at them as far as explosives are concerned, at least. But still, they need to get themselves downstairs into the site with the limited time remaining they have. Thankfully, due to the upstairs clear and those missed Nitros, they were given pretty much exactly the amount of time they would have liked to accomplish this. Now it's just going to be the issue of dealing with the 4v4, and we'll have to see how this bleeds out. Eclipse is going to get the first kill here, but Panba does get down on a trade with Penguins finishing him off. Into the 3v3 now as the plant attempt is going down, but it's DarkZero to clean it all up with 3 consecutive kills as they finally get on the board at 2-1 overall.
Very well done from DarkZero to convert that after they get the top hold in place. They end up shifting things over to more of a bike and dining take instead, planting right on the wall instead of planting next to the laundry door where we see a lot of default plants go down, and have the cut set up for that, especially for the kitchen space and the ability to get back into the tarps area taken away from Parabellum. So the very first round for DarkZero will finally get on the board. Parabellum choosing not to go back towards kitchen. Instead, it's heading back towards AVG for round 4.
We're going to get a double delay comp this time from Parabellum as the Tachanka will be picked up by Creators. He's been struggling a little bit on the individual side of things, as you can see at 0-3 right now, so he's going to go into a little bit more of a supporting position for this round, as he'll be able to delay from inside of the side or potentially even from around the corner outside or something like that. And then we'll still have that built on top of still having the smoke on Wimpy also, so a lot of utility that DarkZero need to, in some form, bait out before that 30-second or 20-second mark here if they want to have any hope of getting themselves into the site and having access to all points as well while trying to do that.
Okay. This is very interesting. I want to see what Creators does here. I want to see how he tries to play this out. There's a lot of verticality going to the floor here, folks. If you guys saw, the entirety of the bar is actually broken open. There's also quite a few holes inside of the ground over here inside of the plains area. You know, there's so many different ways that they can play this out, and the one that could be one is seeing Creators possibly fall off later on to play these from down low. Now, that'd be very risky. I think it's just mostly for the possibility for Parabellum to try and hold that downstairs area with their other potential roamers like Penguin or maybe like Eska to go downstairs and try and play prevent on these, you know, these placements of the case. So we'll have to see how this works out, but a lot of destruction for DarkZero to try and work through either way.
So Parabellum continue to wait out this timer and start to just now deploy a bit of their utility. We can see one of the Toxic Babes out from Wimpy, and 2 to 3 of Creators' incendiary charges being deployed as well from the launcher. Things aside from that, though, we'll continue to delay down as DarkZero look for a cleaner path forward. We can see one of the Flores drones working its way in there to deal with utility closer to the site, and we'll see where exactly it makes its mark in a second. Looks like it's just being done for soft breach at this point in time, so it's going to make that hole a little bit bigger. Obviously, Parabellum will be a double-edged sword for them, as they do want that angle open themselves to a certain extent. Nades are coming in from Hyper down below. Not to too much success, though, as we can find. And in fact, it's going to be Creators finally striking on the Tachanka of all operators as well, as he catches Canadian, knocks out the Flores. Pretty sure at least a few of those drones were still in his pocket, so all that is now wasted.
Yeah, 2 or 3 Rotero drones still in his pocket, so much potential wasted here. And now with half the time remaining, DarkZero still have to try and get this case down. DarkZero with a lot to do still, especially since they are building things up around the stock area, or rather study area, with the angle still open for Gun Vault to be able to abuse those going forward. But, I mean, they really need to try and work this over to potentially a 90 take. Sitting here inside a study really isn't going to garner you too much. Hyper's going to fake out his clone and then peek through, but NJR's taking a lot of heat here. Creators is going to launch one of those fire nades down red. He'll more than likely man this position for some time, as he's got so much utility in order to do so. Seems like DZ also have a potential player coming through on the master end, so lots of different ways this round could end up going inside of the last 40 seconds.
Creators wasting so much time right now. DarkZero have to know they had him low with the way they're playing this out, but actually NJR is going to end up walking a little bit too close to the flames at too low HP. He goes down. That's another member of this squad eliminated. They don't even know where Creators is anymore. Keep in mind, he was the main target of their aggression up until a few seconds ago here. Eska will finally get down inside of the site. Panba as well, catching Penguins. This round is not over just yet here, as DarkZero still going to try to go for a rebound, and with the 2 kills they've picked up, we're at even numbers.
Oh, Wimpy playing close with the M590. Kool-Aid's going to get lit up just a bit, but now, all of a sudden, this plant going down, there's a potential for it to be stuck. Eclipse has to stick it this time around. Pambasu has the cross. It's a quad for him. Can he finish it up? Creator shoots it through the wall. Oh, my. Back and forth we go, and Parabellum picks it up.
Well, Creators have been quiet up until that point, but he goes as loud as he possibly can be here in the 4th round. Beautiful stuff, from the delay potential to the utility being deployed. Also, to be fair, for the purposes of delaying, but either way. And on top of that, the kills he gets, also absolutely amazing stuff coming in from Creators on the Tachanka, and a massive effort needed there, certainly, to put Parabellum's 3rd round up on the board as they continue to excel here versus DZ.
Yeah, we're going to need to clean up on round 4 for sure, because the end of that was just such a cluster. I mean, going back and forth for both of these teams, and finally it rests on Parabellum. But that's really only due to the timing. I mean, if there's any extra time at all, Creators more than likely dies moments later, and that's a DZ round. But since it was such a low-timed execution, they're not able to, well, really have that situation for themselves, and fortunately enough, it goes the way of Parabellum. But these defenses have looked quite solid throughout so far. I'd say DZ had a really good idea of how to attack the kitchen setup, but past that, I've really enjoyed seeing what Parabellum's been doing in these opening minutes.
And it's a good demonstration of how frustrating it can be to play against Parabellum strategies too. I mean, we saw it there in those final 15 or so seconds. DarkZero was trying to roam clear against Creators over on like statuary side, while at the same time trying to execute into the site. That's something you don't really see very often, except for a team that was put in a DarkZero situation where they're desperate. They just kind of have to do both at once because they've wasted all the remaining time bank trying to accomplish the roam clear.
Yeah, while the Twitch is having a gunfight with Penguin over inside of Trophy Stat, I just want to remind you, Hyper's down inside of Study at the same time. Yep. So that's a really, really good read on how stretched Parabellum to have DarkZero inside of a moment like that. And I think the big thing to notate for everybody at home as well is a lot of those situations that build up like that, most of the time ends up working out to kind of a 50-50 shot for either team. So it's really those little audibles, those little decisions that we see from the defense there that end up giving Parabellum the win. Fantastic stuff from them, but we'll have to see if they can do the same here in round 5, as we're already about a minute in. DarkZero making some solid headway, not losing nearly as many drones this time around.
Yeah, much more slowly played here from DZ this time around, as they do want to try and prioritize getting these players cleaned out and making sure that they don't lose too many players of their own in the process of accomplishing that. Wimpy continuing to hold back the line as he has been throughout this entire half from the inside. And as well, Creator, wait, Wimpy got both of those? Okay. It's probably just going to be one of the Yana drones working its way down the hallway, but I'm pretty sure Wimpy killed 2 people in Study, and we just got confused because Creator's POV is he more than likely killed one of the Yana drones since Hyper's still alive. Kool-Aid continues to push the envelope even further, and I mean, Wimpy's just farming inside of Study right now. 3 more kills for him just in this round alone. Hyper, I mean, at this point, just sit in the corner and let your IGL kind of talk through this, because there's not much you can do, unfortunately, in a 1v5, especially without a single point of damage done to anyone on the opposing team.
You now have one shot, one opportunity to make this a 4-2 split. Are you gonna miss your opportunity? That's the real question. I don't really know as of right now. For DarkZero, it just doesn't really seem like they're working with their full deck as of right now. I think Parabellum's doing a lot of things that they aren't exactly ready for, like, oh, I don't know, Wimpy killing 2 people in Study, then taking the space and sitting inside of Study to then have DarkZero rotate up main and not even consider that to be a possibility. The little things like that are just making the game so very difficult for DZ right now, because they're assuming things that they really don't have the opportunity to try and clear out, and Parabellum are punishing them for that. So for now, Hyper more than likely just going to play this out, see if he can get any extra kills, and as John was talking about before, just let Canadian have some time, because they really need to talk through this.
Yeah, so for people who haven't seen this in other games, or potentially haven't even seen it in Siege, this is, you know, we talked about it. This is pretty much an unwinnable situation for Hyper. There's no real reason for him to attempt a clutch, because it's more than likely just going to lead to a premature end of this round. They had like a solid minute and a half remaining. That's 3 times, I believe, almost 1.5 times the amount of time you'd have for a traditional pause. You might as well just use that, let your IGL say what they need to say. If you want to chain it into a normal pause, you can do that as well and kind of double down on it to maybe get some input from the coach. But yeah, they're even going to call that out at the end because they realize, what's happening. But for me, you know, no fault on the DarkZero given the fact that they were put in such a drastic situation, and we just got the calm. This is going to transition itself into a pause now. So DarkZero really just trying to get as much communication time as possible so they can play out this last round of the first half properly, and probably more than anything, get ready for the second half.
And you ever consider being a commentator? You broke that down pretty well there.
I'd hope I could do that well. It's
is that why they pay you the big bucks?
yeah. I mean, don't know why else they do it.
That's true. That is true. You know, they'd pay you for your good looks, John.
That's definitely not
You
true.
owe me dinner for that
It's
or
definitely
something.
not true. It's not in the contract. I can say that much.
Oh, man. But either way, I mean, Parabellum are really taking it to DarkZero right now. I think there's a lot of different ways that DZ can possibly go about this. I think the biggest problem right now for them is that Parabellum have been able to slow them down when it comes to kind of these like one-off attempts to clear out space. For instance, like...
Just their ability to trade is like really bad right now on DarkZero's side, like especially for clearance. Just looking at Wimpy's position, like the study clear specifically, they've had really bad trade ratios inside of there. There's like 3 rounds at least where Wimpy's just been able to get like a double, if not a triple kill inside of that. That really shouldn't be happening. You should have the counteracting pressure from main stairs or somewhere else to be able to, you know, at most give him a 1-for-1. But he's just being allowed to go crazy every single round, it seems.
Yeah, and you know what? I really like that you bring that up as well, because it's not that Wimpy's doing something out of the ordinary. He's just constantly challenging study, and for some reason, DarkZero are caught off guard time and time again, to the point where it's almost detrimental, right? I'd say the only round outside of that where Wimpy wasn't shutting them down from that specific vault angle was also his main stairs defense, when he killed 3 people that should have never happened ever in the history of Siege. That just doesn't happen when you have 3 people run through like that. But
Onto Chonka as well.
yeah, well, no, that wasn't even on Tachanka.
That wasn't? Oh, we're thinking of a different
Yeah,
round.
see, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just like Wimpy is just the Secretary of Defense when it comes to Parabellum.
And he's been doing an absolutely fantastic job at 8-3, topping out the scoreboard.
3 assists as well.
Yeah, by a pretty good margin for the rest of his team also. So some great stuff coming out from him. He's going to be on the Malusi for the final round of defense. And aside from that, we're also going to see creators go over towards an Ella, so potentially expect a bit more in terms of aggressive positioning from Parabellum to round out this half here if they really want to try and lock in that 5th one. DarkZero, though, bringing pretty much the same thing to the table that we've been seeing throughout the rest of this half. Canadian is going to be back on the Flores, trying to clear out some of that utility down on the first floor, and DarkZero should be feeling pretty good about their chances here, given that they didn't really struggle too much with this clear the last time it was played.
All right, I'm loving this call right now from Parabellum as well. This is a completely bare-bones top floor as of right now. The real question is, how long is it going to take DarkZero to clear all of this? This is what we're going to be paying attention to. Notice, the only person I think around this area is Wimpy, maybe? I think he's in bathroom. Yeah, he's all the way across. He's got a single reinforcement and a deployable shield. So a lot of this is going to be set up for them to try and actually hold on to this space. They take it all back. Creators seemingly just through the floor for me, but he's actually on this 2nd floor. It looked like we only had 1 person up here for some time, but yeah, we actually do have some utility around this area that Parabellum will be able to hold on to. But I mean, this does revert back to the same question. How long is DarkZero going to take to clear this?
Well, we'll give you the answer in just a moment once they actually finish doing so.
Once they start clearing it.
And so far, we're 1.5 minutes in, and they've barely touched it as of yet. They might be kind of catching on to this, however, and trying to work their way around it, as can be seen by Canadian's position here. He's going to be droning things out towards living room, trying to set up a potential cutoff for the way into kitchen, and we'll see how this will potentially boost DarkZero's aggressive capabilities over the next 30 seconds.
This is starting to look more like a horizontal take here, John. That's what you're, being able to notate from that single panel, especially that Canadian was destroying there. They'll be able to hold on to the grandfather clock area right outside of China, and that's a main rotation back for Parabellum and a lot of their teammates, especially the ones upstairs. They could also drop down the hatch. I think there's a rotation here. There is indeed. That deployable shield's going to get blown sky high, but Kool-Aid obviously knowing that rotation's there now as well. He's just going to play this hallway. It's going to make it super, super awkward for Canadian, but Creators is actually going to get the first blood instead. Canadian, a terrible misread for him, as Kool-Aid's been able to take the space, and as of right now, there's really nothing that DarkZero can do to try and fend this off. Creators are going to jump off of the top floor. They'll be able to retake into tarps, although I don't think that any DZ member is here. NJR, he is upstairs, but does he know that someone's inside a concrete? He's going to get caught off guard. Wimpy will catch him, and DarkZero have 0 information and no ability to gather much more. Hyper's drone more than likely on flank, and a dead Eclipse means that it's a 5-1, and Hyper back in the exact same boat he was the previous round. Running around trying to take gunfights up against Parabellum, while the remainder of his team is dead. And so is he. It's a flawless round there for Parabellum. Parabellum as they dissect DarkZero.
And that last gunfight, a little bit awkward between both of those players, but it didn't really matter too much to the overall round outcome at that point. Creators as well, just with the quick swing around on the sidearm from the Ella, takes care of business and shuts down DZ. Another very nice adjustment from Parabellum. A huge change up from the first hold they had downstairs in kitchen.
So, question, teacher. I have a question.
What's up?
So, if we have Flores inside of library and he's supposed to be manning the grandfather clock area, where's the person that's supposed to watch the main red hallway that prevents the mute from swinging and killing your Flores?
I think he was still clearing the non-existent roam on the second floor.
It's the little things, man. That's what gets you in trouble in Siege. It's those little things where you're like, oh, I'm able to do this by myself. I'll open this up. I'll play this area, and things will be okay. And no one's holding something like a hallway, and you get picked off because of that. It's just super unfortunate for Canadian inside of that situation there because he seriously needed some help from his team.
We've got our community poll results ready. Unfortunately, you guys are, so far at least, you guys are dead wrong. Who would win, a Canadian team or Canadian? 64% of you seem to think Canadian himself, but as you can see by the scoreboard, that is not the case.
The true North is here now. It's over.
The North has remembered, and it's coming back for its vengeance as Parabellum looks to take a quick game here today versus DZ. 2 more rounds still need to be claimed, though, inside of the second half for them to accomplish it, so let's see if they can get it done.
Canadians going to really wish they built that wall just a couple feet higher. You know, just keep those guys over there. We can't have them inside of the NAL. But now for Parabellum, they're out and about as we start off round 7. 5-1 split on their defensive end, and what a showcase it was. Definitely one that I personally will go back and watch through just to see how those defensive strategies ended up working out, and as they didn't end up going pretty swimmingly. But either way, for DZ, they're going to start things off inside of AVG. They're going to have their own extended hold out towards the north side here. Hyper and Eclipse currently around the red space with Canadian all the way off in Narnia in the Astro area.
So Parabellum continues to work their way down the execution checklist here, and it's going to start more than likely with the main stairs clear that we had seen DZ struggling with, specifically against players like Wimpy, who did a fantastic job of holding it in the first half. Now, the shoe is on the other foot. It's time to see if DarkZero can have just as strong of a presence here. So far, that is certainly the case. Panba continuing to maintain it, but keep in mind, of course, plenty of utility being deployed from the defense to facilitate this hold. As you'll see, at least one of the Toxic Babes has already worked its way out and now expired from NJR. Eclipse at the same time there. He's going to be rotating back up. Pan, but ready for the challenge. Another Toxic Babe works his way in, but there's enough utility to counter it back out. Problem being, though, DZ did claim a second kill, and now a third from that Toxic Babe as Eska goes down. DZ have the 4v2 advantage, and it falls to Kool-Aid and Wimpy. Never mind, just Kool-Aid to clutch it out.
Very well done from DarkZero here. They stand tall against Parabellum's onslaught of the main stairs, and they'll win it out. Jaeger initially there, but NJR also able to pick up the pieces as they try and push in through study as well as main stairs. DZ, not out of the thick of it just yet, but at least they've got to start.
Yeah, solid statement at a minimum coming in there from DZ on their first defensive round. If that's going to be any indication for how the rest of this half goes, Parabellum still might have a little bit of work to do here if they want to outright win this game. DarkZero, in the meanwhile, easy success on that first hold inside of AVG, so go right down the list over into Trophy Statuary. We're going to see some slight changes to the operator lineup. A Frost will come in for Canadian, and on top of that, NJR is also going to deploy towards the Warden.
Okay, so all things considered for DarkZero, how does this look up against Parabellum's lineup? Well, I mean, honestly, fantastic, especially given the Warden pick coming in from DZ. You know, I think this is definitely something that Parabellum are not going to be too worried about, all things considered. Past that, I think that they've got a really, really good setup for this. NJR's deployable shield and the MPX will work out swimmingly, but past that, I mean, he's not really going to get too much done with the actual primary utility of Warden. So they're just more or less taking that just in case there is like a stun dump or something like that, and he's more than likely going to be playing in a pretty critical position. I'm assuming it's going to be up where Canadian is right now, just because whenever Warden's in a lineup, it's like, what's the really, really crappy position to play here? Oh, it's the closet? Yeah, Warden, you crawl in there, buddy. You have a good time.
So he'll be positioned in there for the first bit of this round here and continue to try and maintain that. We did see one repick come in from Parabellum, fairly minor though. Creators had initially selected an Ash and has just gone over towards the Finko, which is obviously something we tend to see a bit more nowadays. So makes perfect sense there. Creators swapping that one in. And aside from that, it's Parabellum just taking up the mantle on the rappel upstairs here for the master bedroom and looking to try and insert themselves either through walk-in or the window first. But Panba sits on the other side of it, and he's still out in the open despite getting flash dumped a few seconds ago. Nitro's out in a great position too, but it doesn't manage to catch either Penguin or the other player on rappel, and Penguin, of course, will immediately see his HP get rebuffered due to the Finko being brought.
If you ever wanted to know what it sounded like to have a heart attack live, that's the exact sound right there. Nitrocell out the window almost picks up 2, but now Hyper with an opportunity. Won't be able to find too much on that master window. Only the first minute expended though, so still a lot of round 8 to go here. Parabellum still outside of the master space, trying to find any entry point they possibly can. You can see creators also lurking around with the possibility to go downstairs. Could be a freebie here, as actually the suitcase is going to eat, and I'm not even kidding, every single bullet that goes through that drone hole. Not an ounce of damage coming DZ's way.
Thought we might have seen at least 1 or 2 sneak out there at the beginning, but apparently not the case. So DZ's got a lucky star watching out for them in that department. Half the round gone, and fairly minimal control has gone over to the Parabellum side of things. They are going to be attempting a first lure clear, but as you can see, Eclipse is standing in the way of that also. So there's going to be problems for Parabellum no matter which way they go. 2 drones, it reconfirms Eclipse's position and scares him away over towards the red stairs, but not the direction you'd think, as it looks like he's actually heading down into the basement. Hasn't even made a decision just as of yet here. Wants to keep that aggressive presence going and limit the capability of Parabellum just as much as they were doing the same in the last half.
Yeah, the job of your roamer is to be annoying, and that's exactly what Eclipse is going to do. Just pre-fire some walls, make your presence known, make them try and clear you, especially with time already dwindling so very low for the offense. Wimpy will be able to take control of the kitchen area, currently around Tetris, but Eska's been down. Will be also taking some damage from Hyper upstairs. He's going to try and re-peek the angle, but nothing being done with that as of right now. And on low time, Parabellum have to get something here. Finally, it'll be Kool-Aid to strike. He'll take down NJR, but still needs some more here. Wimpy pushing forward. Might be going for the Astro play here. As soon as Canadian will get taken down, Eclipse has to start lurking, and he'll find Wimpy. Won't go back up the staircase just yet here. Might choose to go over towards red, as Pambazoo has been able to grasp a hold of this space, but Hyper's been taken down. Maybe be able to secure that kill. He'll go down as well, and with low time, 3 versus 3 here, it's anybody's game. As Eclipse, he'll hop back into the fray. He'll take one. Creators fires back, though. They need to get this plant down. It's up to Penguin. Knows the close angle's there. He'll find him, but there's no way he gets this last kill. DarkZero are able to collect round 8.
Close fight from Parabellum, given every circumstance that led up to those final 10 seconds or so of the round, but falls handily into the favor of DZ when push comes to shove. Unfortunately for Parabellum, struggling with that same issue to some extent we were seeing DarkZero struggle with, where they just don't really know where to start in terms of the roam clear. They can't seem to get any of these players out of position, or at least get them to fully fall back, and that is wasting so much time, leaving so far both rounds of the attack with a bit of a haphazard clear, just out of necessity more than anything, rather than any actual preparedness on the side of Parabellum.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for Parabellum, their offense at least, it's just very, very slow. They're having the same problem that DarkZero is. The initial, problems that they're faced with, there's no true answer to it. It's kind of like, okay, we might be able to attempt this, but if we do, things can go horribly wrong and we'll lose the round based off of that. So I guess we'll just try and position ourselves to see if DarkZero can possibly make a mistake. It's just not working out on the timer. Both of these teams have done a bang-up job of controlling the pace on their defensive side.
They're being forced into a tunnel, unfortunately, on both these rounds so far due to the inability to clear out that extended game. They can never open up a secondary angle to challenge or at least put pressure on the defensive positions. You could see them trying to open up either the Astro Stairs or even the Red Stair approach that round, but once again, was not able to get proper access to it. There was still far too many threats in the form of an extended player or just someone waiting at the top of either staircase. So Parabellum had to go in the only way they had control, which even there they had to fight for that master bedroom positioning, which they finally were able to get for themselves after a minute or two, became their only ground they could fight from, and pretty much one as you would expect, trying to push directly out through those doorways with no real breach to play into either on the main triple wall that you can see on your screen now.
So that begs the question, what's the change-up for Parabellum that could possibly secure them Villa inside of regulation? They're 2 rounds away from being able to do so. This round especially meaning a lot as a kitchen defense for DarkZero. Pambazoo will be upstairs. I believe he had Eclipse along for the ride as well, but he could have fell off. Nope, inside a bathroom, at least for the current moment as of right now. The beauty of this setup for DarkZero is that, especially for Pambazoo, he'll continue to add things to this problem and force Parabellum to clear out even more utility inside of this area. He's going to back off, though, over towards benches and see if anybody's trying to push in from the study side, but as we know, there's not a single PB soul inside of the area.
We do have a Twitch drone roaming around, being a little bit annoying, mainly against Panba right now, but it looks like it has taken out quite a bit of utility also, so a few pieces are going to end up being missing. The main one being the reinforcements on that triple wall there that ended up going away, or rather the double reinforcement for it. Eska strikes true first here for Parabellum as he gets access to the top Astro stairs and swings down on top of Eclipse, costing him about half of his HP. We got at least one hot ping from someone downstairs, but it doesn't look like Parabellum are too close to chasing that player down, so it's going to go probably a bit quieter here for a few moments. That is, of course, till Panba leaps into the fight. They have no clue that he's sitting over here by top red, and he gets away with 2 kills. Thankfully, though, Wimpy elsewhere on the map has been able to exchange that out, so the numbers stay even for now.
I mean, the numbers might be even, but this round is definitely not. This is a DZ round as of right now. You've taken out not only the sledge, but also the air jabs from Penguin. And for Penguin, he peaks with the utility there. No one's holding benches. They have no idea what's going on inside of the area, and that's exactly why that ends up working out so very well for Pambazoo. He's been able to get himself back towards side, and now Canadian with a big pickup and the case down inside of Laundry. Parabellum, what is happening? Impacts to go down and create some more angles up top. Canadian under an immense amount of pressure now from creators, but he's got his own swath of problems as well, as he's the lone man inside of Laundry as the other Parabellum member tries to work the verticality. Wimpy will drop down. Both of them now inside of Laundry. The case still down, and with 30 seconds to go, so much to ask of these two.
No stability here in the late round push from Parabellum. This round, at least, mainly due to their lack of drones. They had Canadian with the dual pinch against him. One player coming in from Laundry, another from the other side. They could have easily knocked him out, but instead they give him this much room to play, and he's allowed to get away with one of the 2 kills. Creator is now forcing himself in, trades out the player that took down the planter, but the planter is dead on the ground here. Time is low. That's a great shot from Creators, but he still has to hunt down one more member of this team, and he has no clue where Hyper's positioned at, so he has no problem shutting it down for his team instead, as DarkZero win their 2nd round in a row on defense.
Punishment after punishment after punishment coming from this defense for
Third
DZ.
round in a row, my bad.
Yeah, 3rd round in a row, as you said. Yeah, indeed. And you know, honestly, it's not your fault at all, because these have been happening pretty quickly, at least decisiveness-wise. DZ's basically been able to tell us what's going to happen inside of the first minute and 30 seconds. Parabellum haven't been able to fight back and really make any of these interesting. Even that round right there, he gets the 2 pistol kills, but we all know he has no idea where that last guy is. There's really no way that he finds Hyper and wins that situation. So, I mean, really unfortunate for Parabellum right now. Again, they're running into the same problems that DarkZero were. You know, it's a lot of different aspects. It's the map control, but it's also the engagements that they're coming into early that are just seriously punishing their lineup, and they're not able to recover. That one coming from the simple fact that Penguin swings bench with an air jab in his hand instead of the ARX.
So for Parabellum here, struggles starting to show, mainly inside of the early round. And this is going to cost them potentially their entire lead here, starting out promising at the beginning of this half at 5-2. But now we're going to try and shut this one down, or now going to try, and bring this one back into their control. As DarkZero only one more round away from tying us up at 5-5 and potentially just running the gauntlet straight up to 7 if we don't see any change up in the PB department. Away from that, though, we are going to finally return to pastures where PB has already tested themselves previously, and it's looking like there is going to be significant change here as we've got a majority North clear coming out to start this round, which is a big contrast to what we had been seeing previously.
Yes, indeed. To see if it can possibly work out for them, is there's not going to be any DarkZero members inside of this area this time around. If you guys remember, there was quite the extensive roam going that way the last time around that was capped off by Canadian all the way inside of Astronomy, at least for the starting moments. But now Parabellum, they've been gifted this area, and they will make do with what they can. Trying to propel themselves towards 90 and clean up some of these angles, making it a little bit easier for them to try and fight back against DarkZero if they so choose to try and go for a late rotation. And it's going to be back to the drones here to try and clear out a lot of these different areas. Most importantly, the top of red, this bust space in 90. Don't want any DZ members that could possibly run amok of Parabellum as they enter.
Things are going to continue to devolve fairly slowly inside of the first minute or two. You can see Canadian catching on to that north clear. He's going to establish a position from down below. Not much he can do about it, unfortunately, unless there is soft breach that's been pre-made for him. So more than likely we'll have to just back himself up and watch to make sure there isn't any alternative first floor push against him. But you can see Eclipse now getting ready for this clear that's going to come out towards top red against him, eventually chucking in all of those magnets, although that one is going to get caught by Eska. Nice spot from him. That'll delete one piece of utility mitigation, as you can see Eska has other things to worry about here. Has to knock himself through the top side so they can make sure any mute jammers on the other side of this are going to be dealt with, and that, more importantly, they can open that up.
Well, 90 now opened, unless Eclipse got it. He did not. That's so unfortunate. And for some reason, no one really watching that. I mean, Kool-Aid will be from a kind of a sharp angle there. He'll be able to take down Hyper, but I'm very surprised Eclipse didn't end up getting picked off. Either way, though, he's still able to work his way around the vault angle. It's going to be very tight fit for him as of right now, as the vault's open and they're able to play this door back and forth. He's literally stuck in the position that he is right now. He has to win out these engagements, but Penguin, where are you looking? No one's got the cross for that, and Eclipse is getting away with so much right now. If he's able to get more kills, I don't know what happens for Parabellum. Creators will finally be able to get the kill. Eska with 2, and now it's down to just NJR. He's hiding in behind the bar. He'll be able to pick up 1. He's on low HP, though. Still has 2 Toxic Babes. He could play spoils to this situation.
And JR looking for a big clutch right now here off of the backs of some great play from his teammate as well. Over by the inside of Gunvault, but it's not going to happen. Eska just full commits to the pre-fire there, hoping that his opponent was still stuck behind the bar, and he was indeed correct about that one. Parabellum, 1 out of the 2 rounds for this half needed have been claimed, and just 1 more stands between them and victory today versus DZ.
That was so very well done from Parabellum, but I mean, Eclipse was
Except for that Gunvault clear.
He was just let loose. I don't know what was going on with that.
I mean, to be fair, that's like, you know, a little bit of a misplay there, but you got to give credit to Penguin for having that much trust in his teammates. So,
Yeah,
like you guys got me, right? You guys, you still got me, right? Okay, you didn't have me, but all good. Like,
Penguin could literally be laying on the ground bleeding out and be like, all right, guys, you got me, right? You guys got me. It's okay. You got me. It's okay. You know, he was just really, really worried about that cross as well.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, as we saw, right, there's a little smoke sitting right in behind that game's bar. You don't want to give him too much, so understandable for Penguin. Have a nice day, sir. But they're still able to get the round, and that's the big piece of the puzzle right there. Because now for DarkZero, this is going to be hard fought. They've got to get 2 rounds back-to-back. Luckily enough, all of these sites are now open for their taking. They're able to go anywhere they so choose. And, I mean, do we have a rerun of what we saw last week? Maybe the meatheads just don't know how to attack. We'll have to find out.
we will indeed be finding out soon as Parabellum looks to try and change up their fate. They've already done it once inside of the AVG clear. Now I'm going to see them try to do it once again on our north side of the map. How will they approach it, though? Is this is a little bit harder to change up the overarching strategy. It's not as simple as going from a south to a north clear, as there needs to be a little bit more in terms of an emphasis on this bedroom play for Parabellum to have a good base camp established to get them into the site. And you can see the DarkZero has changed up their setup as well, mainly by having Eclipse hard commit to the inside of Walken at the beginning of this round, while Panba still holds that very pivotal position over by the doorway.
That's the biggest change here, actually. We're going to have another drone come in for Penguin. It won't go off. Pambazoo will be able to pick that up, but they already got rid of the deployable shield here. They'll just have to burn the laser gate, and they're good to go. The big position to talk about here is Eclipse inside of the closet, as he's in the middle of your screen, literally inches away from Parabellum members outside on the balcony. He'll have NJR to be able to assist if anybody wants to try and attempt to hop inside a bathroom, but this is a very risky hold. We've seen this done time and time again on Villa, and if things are committed the proper way, Eclipse should be blown sky high here. But the good news for Parabellum, or rather DarkZero, is that Parabellum have already burned quite a bit of their utility. Creator still has 3 stuns, and we saw a frag grenade on Eska, but that situation has to go perfectly for this to go off without a hitch.
Hyper has been forced a little bit further back from the door now due to the utility being deployed against him, but no real progress on knocking out Eclipse. You still have the threat of NJR leaning back in as well. But there's the nade. Very well lined up from Eska, is going to completely bypass the ADSs and other forms of utility mitigation, indeed, by giving them a landmine from below. It's the nade that knocks them out and gives Parabellum finally some access to the walk-in here. But keep in mind, they've wasted over half the round trying to accomplish this. They've got to speed this up. And unfortunately, they have to speed this up a little bit more quickly than they might like to do.
Well, you say that, but they've brought the tools in order to do this, and it happens to be this man right here, Creator's first EE1D out. Pambazoo seemingly aware that somebody is on rappel, but he doesn't really know where it's at. Oh, this could go either way. This window break, I really don't know. They're going to be able to tag up one Pambazoo. He takes so much damage from that V308. NJR wins out the engagement up against Eska, but there's so much time for Parabellum to battle back from this.
Yeah, they've got full control inside of Master now. That includes the bathroom. That includes all access points. And they're using it. 2 more kills going into their favor. It's just NJR and Panba. Both are injured as well. NJR is now down on the ground. Panba left alone inside of a 1v4. He's been spotted out by a drone and is being chased down quickly from the Master push. He might not even catch this cutoff from red side. No, he does. He gets a second and denies the plant also, but the cutoff is there. Whippy saves the day again, and Parabellum shuts down the match.
Parabellum take DarkZero to Villa of all maps, and they win it out in regulation 7-4. It's the difference in offense that breaks this game down to a PB win. Fantastic for them, and I mean, to be honest with you, Wimpy and Kool-Aid, I don't know if you can get rid of Wimpy at this point. I don't really know what you do with that situation. I'm very happy it's not my decision to make because he went 14-7-2. That was immense from him. Very well done from the Canadian squad as they take it to Canadian.
Very well done indeed. And again, the tail of the tape, you know, we saw both teams struggling with a very similar set of issues, especially on their attacking side, but it was Parabellum that made the appropriate adjustments, that made the change-ups to their strategy, especially inside of the AVG take, that ultimately allowed them to win. And we did not see that from DarkZero. They were kind of locked into their ways, wanted to play it out the same way, hoping that, again, there was just a minor change-up or two, a fight going a different way that might have made the difference for them. Not the case. They end up running headfirst in the Parabellum defense for 5 rounds on that first half. They're giving them a massive disadvantage that unfortunately was just a little bit too much to climb back from, and now sets Parabellum up for a victory here today versus DZ.
Man, NAL this season, so hard to call. This stage 1, I mean, I would, we had to go back and look at the power rankings right now. I know I tweeted them last week, but I mean, it's just got to be
a little skewed.
Yeah, it's got to be straight comedy for sure. I mean, it's just so crazy. But either way, I mean, Parabellum, I'm excited to see what they can do for the rest of this first stage.
I mean, this was the Parabellum we have been looking to see. This is the Parabellum that have been talking of a big game on their rise to the NAL, saying that, okay, we can be like a top 5 or a top 3 team by the end of our first year in the league. And a performance like that certainly lends credence to that theory here, as Parabellum bring some great adjustments to the table, and more importantly, the necessary ones on their attacking side, and on top of just a stellar defensive side play. Their extended game constantly wasting so much time away from DZ, if not outright finding impact with players like Wimpy getting those triple kills. Either way, though, that'll do it for the two of us here today. We're going to go to a short break. When we do return, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have an interview with our winners as well as the analysis desk segment.
No need for the surface shining. Ask me, I need me a few. I need me an island. I'm keeping it true. The man, I'm a wild. I'm keeping it cool. No need for the telephone hype from you. Yeah, tell a man no trouble. I don't want beef, man. I just want vibes. Big man like me, no need for the telephone hype. I got too much getting online. One rule, then I'm on side. Wrong move, I bet they gon' rise. No need for the telephone hype. Yeah, tell a man no trouble. I don't want beef, man. I just want vibes. Big man like me, no need for the telephone hype. I got too much getting online. One rule, then I'm on side. Wrong move, I bet they gon' ride. No need for the telephone hype, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, tell a man no trouble. I don't want beef, man. I just want vibes. Big man like me, no need for the telephone hype. I got too much getting online. One rule, then I'm on side. Wrong move, I bet they gon' ride. No need for the telephone hype, nah.
You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. I can't be stopped now, I can't stop. I can't be stopped now, I can't stop.
And we are back one last time here at the Rainbow Six NAL today for day 1 of week 2. I'm Doa, that's Jesse, it's Jacob, as you know. And guess what? Parabellum they're pretty good after all. We suspected going into it, we suspected a little bit, but they were able to take down DarkZero. I mean, it's a day of upsets, I guess. It's been a stage of upsets so far. Like, are upsets even upsetting anymore? It's just become the norm at this point, hasn't it?
Welcome to the NAL, where what's the
guess.
catchphrase? I'm trying to remember what the catchphrase for this league.
The power rankings are made up and the stats don't matter?
That is not.
don't matter.
No, I mean, true, stats don't matter, but anything can happen.
That's true. But guess what? We got somebody who's bucking the stats here today. We got Kool-Aid with us from Parabellum standing by in Las Vegas. How you doing, man?
I could be better. I died a lot, but I'm all right. How are you?
I mean, hey, you got the win, and the thing is, right, it's not all about the kills and the deaths, it's about the team effort, right? And my first question for you, are you tempted to just play Oryx and yell, oh yeah, when you come through walls?
I mean, whenever I can get off smoke, I only play Oryx. Like, hey,
Well, there you go.
if I'm on a bank, that's all I play. Bandit.
Yeah, except the times you're playing Kaid like a maniac. Like, other than that.
Okay. I mean,
I remember that shot
Kaid's
game,
just
bro. Come
goated.
on.
I love Kaid.
All right. Well, Jesse J. Chick, subscriber on Twitch, Jameson
shut
Lancaster, I have a question for you. We've talked a little bit in the past about how VBM does a lot for your squad, the coach, obviously, of Parabellum, and prepping you and letting you know what your opponents are going to bring, specifically against the Sonics last week. Was there anything that he was able to bring to the table for you guys that he let you know that really helped you guys in this match?
Yeah, yesterday we all came together. Peng and VBM had a really solid game plan to attack. I mean, we won. As you can see from the first round, I played Doc and we had a Rook. So it was like full court press on this. Like, they don't really like playing their ones really well. Like, they're just kind of timid in that aspect. And if like the first part of the round doesn't go well for them, and they're like Twitch drones and Flores cams can't get the like late round util, they kind of stall and kind of doesn't look good. Not gonna lie.
Talk about those defenses a little bit, because what we saw consistently was times where it was Wimpy getting a 3K or something. I think what Eska had very nearly almost perfect entry, and it turned into a moment where I think you guys got the opening kill every single round on defense. When you're trying to stall out on Villa for that long, it's a map you guys have played for a long time and have been really good with, but you're trying to stall DarkZero. So what's the secret sauce to stopping them on Villa?
The secret sauce is get Wimpy from CL, get Eska from, I don't know, bro, Canadian Nationals or something. Like, you just got to get good people on your team. Like, I'm so thankful to be on this team. Like, I love everyone. So, yeah.
All right, positive vibes. So I asked
that
this
was a bad
question.
answer.
Sure.
That works.
I asked this question earlier to a different player we had in here. I'll ask you the same questions because I like it. Going into the stage here, if you look at like Parabellum at 100% as far as like everything is going as good as you could possibly imagine in the game versus 0% everything is going wrong. Obviously you're 2-1 now. Things are going pretty well, but what percentage would you put the squad at the moment?
Honestly, we haven't been able to get the best practice in for the past month or so. We got here like 3 weeks ago. Like this week was rough on scrims. We couldn't really like get anything going. I'd say around like 65%. We have a lot to improve on, and we'll hopefully show that.
All right. Well, I think you're definitely showing some good results already. Congrats on the win today, and good luck tomorrow. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a good one.
You too. All right, there you go. Kool-Aid from Team Parabellum. I mean, they crushed it today. They did very well against a team that, is arguably one of the better ones in the NAL at the moment. But after just one day of week 2, I feel like the standings are just kind of like all over the place. Let's take a look at the stats from that game as we kind of break that down a bit more.
Parabellum, a team that I think...
we got a picture instead. Ah, yes.
So
Tell
I
us
got
about this one, Jacob. Yeah.
I got sent this today from the father of Penguin, one Mr. Darren Smith on Twitter. The guy in the hoodie is Penguin. And look at who is over there on the far right-hand side, a pre-bearded Troy Canadian from the 2017 Invitational back when they were Continuum all the way back when they claimed that first ever PCSI title. Just for context, that is a 5-year-old picture at this point. The two of them finally came together in a professional match after it took Penguin this long to scrape together a team to get to the top level. And now, I didn't think I'd be saying it, the guy in the hoodie beat the 2-time hammer lifter today.
He just is trying to celebrate a match, and you're gonna do him dirty by posting this picture like this. Really?
No, this
Really?
is a beautiful
It's good for
moment.
story.
This is a beautiful moment,
It's good
right?
for story. Yeah.
It is neat.
If we had like interviewed Penguin, I would have been like, hey, by the way, Keegan, here's a picture of you when you were this old. But
Oh, poor Penguin.
I think it's great. You know, it's cool to see it's great when a game has enough time, enough history, right? We have players that looked up to players like Canadian. Now they're here. Now they're on the same stage. They're getting wins over them. It's great to see, because if you had new people coming up and they're still losing to the old players, that means nobody's getting any better. You know, this is showing progress with the player base overall. So it's a beautiful thing for sure.
Doa, I also agree that Troy is washed and time to retire.
Oh,
No.
that's not what I'm saying. I'm not going to buy into that narrative completely. No, no.
Good point.
Don't try to push
Doa,
narratives on
the
me.
host.
see, what you're doing is you're just giving Bartosz reason to clip that and put it everywhere out of context. Literally everywhere.
I think the context was pretty clear.
I'm gonna
I'm
force you to retire myself.
The evidence is there that is not the case. Let's move on to checking out round 5 here out of that last game. It was pretty fun. One person we haven't talked about as much is Wimpy on Parabellum. He had an amazing day, actually.
Wimpy making sure he keeps his spot on the roster come stage 2. This was an amazing play, and he had a good couple of ones throughout this game. Big 3K here, defending on, I believe this is trophy stat. He's extending over to the AVG side. Yeah, there we go. He's just been on top of his game, I think, even since the stage started. He has been kind of one of those players that's been in Challenger League for a long time. He's always been a gunner. Recently kind of has moved into a bit more of a passive role on attack, but you know that he's still got that amazing gun skill. The way he's able to work a roam is just super impressive, and I thought that was probably his best moment throughout the game today.
I think so too, and he's also had plenty of times where he was in 1vx scenarios. He's not won all of them, but I feel like that's just kind of land pressure.
Sure.
He's in a very unique position because he kind of knows once Blaz comes onto this roster in stage 2, he's probably going to be the guy who won't be here anymore. Maybe. But he's not playing this stage like he's got nothing to lose or he's just going insane. He's still working with the team to be disruptive on roam. He's playing Maverick. He's fitting in really well with this roster, and I think the fact that guys like Kool-Aid and Penguin, his teammates on this show, have backed up his prowess just shows that even if he's not on this squad past stage 2, he's still an incredibly solid pickup for anybody who is looking for a little bit of help. Sonics, I'm looking at you. Wimpy's doing good.
Yeah, they might need it. But you know, you look at other sports, you hear the term playing for their job a lot. You know what I mean? This is really the situation Wimpy is in right now, where even if his future isn't with Parabellum down the line, he's certainly putting in a good job application for anybody else in the league who's looking for somebody. Absolutely.
It's only 3 games again, but still, that's a third of the stage gone.
Yep.
That is true.
And he's doing very well. So hey, Wimpy, no matter what happens at this point, dude, you're doing fantastic. Keep it up.